Chapter 1 of The Lavender Dragon. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Christian McKenna. The Lavender Dragon by Henry Phillpotts. Pongley-In-The-Marsh. Nigh about the middle of the Dark Ages, when ignorance, greed, and superstition largely ruled the world, pretty much, in fact, as do these forces at present, a knight and his squire proceeded to their destination under the setting sun. Sir Jasper de Pomeroy, descendant of that distinguished man who assisted William the Conqueror, and received for his service fair hundreds in the county of Devon, was a youth who favoured his English mother and betrayed little of the Norman in his appearance or composition. He conformed to a style formerly regarded as noble, and now considered somewhat fatuous. His architecture befitted the times and was Gothic, supple, and exquisite. The knight's hair flashed golden in the evening sunshine. His eyes were large, prominent, and very blue. His complexion, though warmed to ruddiness by outdoor life, had naturally been pink and white. He wore a heavy amber moustache, which often caught in the mouthpiece of his helmet, and gave him a painful tweak. His nose had a lofty bridge, and his brow was high but wanted breadth. The purest ideals, combined with a profound lack of humour, characterized Sir Jasper's quality. He resembled an admirable mother, and his father, a man of average ability and more than average selfishness, had bluntly told the young fellow that he possessed a heart of gold and a brain of clay. Weighing the criticism without resentment, Sir Jasper, determined on his career, took all the proper vows, and dedicated himself to the service of knight-errantry. He now approached the conclusion of his first circuit, and up to the present, nothing of any note had challenged his knightly courage, or offered an obstacle to his uneventful progress. His squire, George Pipkin, was a plain dealer of large experience. He had filled similar appointments on former occasions, seen life and felt it, for he chanced to be unhappily married. A grizzled, lean Yorkshireman of 50 was George, and since Sir Jasper enjoyed great wealth and entertained the highest opinion of his supporter, the squire felt well satisfied with his present employ. The better was he pleased because their expedition, now drawing to its close, had encountered no hardships, and proceeded with reasonable comfort, smiled upon by good weather, devoid of any adventure whatsoever. Sir Jasper rode a magnificent stallion with large chestnut markings on a white ground. In the Middle Ages, a circus was not known, and therefore your piebald horse awakened no anticipation of merriment. Nor, in any case, had the knight been a man to find amusement in the colour of his steed. As for George Pipkin, he bestrode an elderly roan, as tough and wiry and experienced as himself. The elder was talking as they traversed rough tracts of moorland, which ceased suddenly at an edge of limestone crags. Beneath these boundaries there subtended fertile plains, ran a river, and stood an attractive hamlet with gabled roof trees and whitewashed walls. "What makes life picturesque," declared the squire, "are the people who prefer their own experience to that of others. Such men as yourself, Sir Jasper. But those who trust tradition and the accumulated wisdom of the race go farther, are generally more satisfied and invariably more prosperous members of society. They are safe, and therefore rather dull to watch, while the adventurer, who casts loose for good or ill, is nearly always entertaining. Not that his experiences will be novel, or probably outside our own, but the freshness and charm of the spectacle he presents lie in the fact that familiar old things are happening to a new spirit, unarmed against them with the trite weapons of precaution. Such a young man's retort to the primitive tests of love, danger, temptation, and so forth cannot be foretold. Hence, every one of his adventures has the charm of novelty." "Do not imagine, George, that I flout tradition," answered the younger. "My grandfather was a famous knight, without fear or reproach. Indeed, my father devotes such leisure as he allows himself from the business of money-making and enjoyment of luxury to writing a full and punctual account of Sir Hugo de Pomeroy's attractive career." "Yes, he does. And that is the difference between you and your parent," answered Pipkin. "He sees no charm in a suit of steel and the life that you have adopted. He feels it far more convenient to write of another's devotion to high causes than seek high causes himself, while you, on the contrary, would emulate your famous ancestor. Sir Jasper sighed. Would that I might, he replied. The world has changed since his romantic day. The times are tame, George. The giants are dead, and the dragons have fled. Not a robber baron to chastise, not a village to rescue out of tyranny, not a maiden in need of succour from her oppressors. We never know our greatest blessings, replied Pipkin. Many a knight has rued the day when he rescued a fair damsel. I need not repeat the story of a former master, Hildebrand of the Iron Forehead. You recollect particulars of his married life? When he passed to glory under the scimitars of 1,000 Saracens, there was a smile of pure happiness on his forbidding features. As for my own career, had I not wedded his lady's serving-maid, I should be a home-staying man at this moment. Be sure that your wife will welcome you with awakened affection when you see her again next September, said Sir Jasper kindly. But George Pipkin shook his head. For the most part, he answered, marriage is like following the ocean. What married man or mariner would not change his state if he could do so? But they plunge into wedlock or go down to the sea in ships, as the case may be, and only regret it once, and that is forever afterwards. They had now reached the declivities, and Sir Jasper smiled at the scene of rural peace and beauty extended in the valley beneath them. George drew a roll of paper from his wallet and consulted a rough map made by the innkeeper with whom they had lodged on the previous night. This will be Pongley-In-The-Marsh, he said, a populous hamlet, apparently, and good, no doubt, for comfortable quarters. A place without a care as far as one may judge, declared Sir Jasper, surveying the smiling Thorpe. Still, we will proceed as ever, with enthusiasm to inspire, and hope to guide. The sun flamed upon his splendid figure, and flashed along his armour and crested helm, so that it seemed a shooting star descended the bridle path into the valley. Indeed, an object so conspicuous could not be missed even by peasant eyes, and when half an hour later the knight and his companion approached the outskirts of Pongley-In-The-Marsh, he perceived some concourse of the folk. George Pipkin frowned, for his experienced eyes feared a deputation, and a deputation usually meant labour at no distant date. Some 50 people, of rustic and humble pattern, approached Sir Jasper, and at the head of the company marched a majestic old man, who bore a staff of office. He wore homespun garments, but was decorated with a chain round his neck and a badge upon his breast. His long, white hair curled about his stooping shoulders, and he appeared a little nervous, for his mouth worked tremulously. Welcome to Pongley-In-The-Marsh, most noble knight, he said. We are your servants, sire, one and all, and beg that you will accept such simple but ample hospitality as we can offer, and such comfort as we know. The best we have is yours to command. Sir Jasper felt gratified, for the country folk were not wont to receive him thus, and George Pipkin stepped forward to rehearse in a loud voice his master's style and title. Sir Jasper de Pomeroy, he concluded, rides the world to right all wrong, redress all grievance, and place his sword and his lance at the service of the humblest sufferer, be he noble or simple. Therefore, if there are any among you who smart undeservedly, or endure evil within the power of a doughty knight to defeat, let him speak, that Sir Jasper of the Silver Lance may judge whether his cause be such as to claim right as well as might, and unchain his unconquerable puissance upon the side of God and man. The ancient portreeve of Pongley bowed to the earth, and the company behind him did the like. A ramblement of urchins were driven back, and a mongrel dog, who dared to sniff at the heels of Sir Jasper's piebald steed, received a kick and howled unmelodiously. When silence had been restored, the old man spoke. Never have we heard a more gracious message, or welcomed a rarer knight, he declared. My name, Sir Jasper de Pomeroy, is Jacob Pratt, and I am master here by accordant vote of my friends and neighbours. You come to us at a moment when trouble and concern are heavy in the land, and when, despite the promise of good harvest and other propitious signs, we are cast into deep tribulation. For years we have suffered from a melancholy scourge, and but a week ago, after periods of peace, the evil broke forth again, and our inveterate enemy has struck in the tenderest quarter, and robbed us of the fairest maiden who ever brightened Pongley-In-The-Marsh with her radiant presence. In a word, Sir Knight, there is a dragon of formidable proportions and utmost malevolence who abides in an impenetrable lair but a league and a half from this unhappy hamlet. From time to time he breaks upon us in our most secure hours, and snatches from our midst now one citizen and now another. Not only men, but women and orphan children he devours, and such is his incredible cunning that though our trained bands have often marched against him, he evades their sallies and is never faced save by unarmed and helpless persons. He flies through the air on immense pinions, but at a height invariably beyond bowshot, nor would any cloth-yard shaft pierce the monster. Of that be sure. Only once within my memory has an errant knight ever before visited Pongley, but nothing came of it, and we pray on our bended knees that you may have a stouter courage and better appetite to rid us of this cruel tyrant than had he. Sir Jasper's eyes sparkled as he turned to Pipkin. "My vade mecum, George," he said, and on receiving a little, well-thumbed volume, he turned to the index and looked up. Dragons. "These misbegotten monsters are few," he told them. "I find here not above 6 or 7 right authentic dragons left in the land of the living, and of these 4 flourish abroad, 2 in Italy, 1 in France, and 1 in the Holy Land. We still appear to have a great worm in the peak, and yes, the Lavender Dragon of Yorkshire." "The Lavender Dragon! The Lavender Dragon!" cried the inhabitants of Pongley in melancholy chorus. "He is our cursed foe, Sir Jasper," explained Jacob Pratt. "He dwells some 10 miles distant, amidst the impenetrable woods of Blore, and from Cator Fell good eyes may see a huge wall that circles his domain, and strange, barbaric buildings of enormous size erected therein. For the monster is no cave-dweller or laidly wretch who lives beneath the earth. To such a measure of understanding has he attained that he dares to assume human manners, lives in a castle, and hides his iniquities behind cyclopean masonry. In fact, he is a dragon with a brain, the most perilous combination of mind and matter it is possible to imagine, for his intelligence only lends power to his ferocity, and though he may dwell in a castle and ape his betters, he does not scruple to destroy the sons and daughters of mankind, and behave otherwise after the horrible custom of his own species. My perambulation draws to a close," replied Sir Jasper, "and it is a source of the keenest satisfaction to me that Providence has seen fit to guide my charger's steps to this secluded spot. We will sup with you, Jacob Pratt, and accept the best that your means afford, and at the dawn of another day, having heard particulars, we will set forth into the marches of the Lavender Dragon, and draw not rein until either he or ourselves have returned to the merciful Father of us all." Upon which welcome assurance Sir Jasper and his squire proceeded among a joyful gathering into the village. After supper, and before he retired for the night, the fearless lad sat by a fire of peat, and listened to his host's discourse, while George, in an adjoining chamber, overhauled the hero's armour, his sword, and his famous silver lance, all grown a little rusty from long disuse. The Portreeve perceived that he had to do with a brave and stalwart hero, but he threw no shadow on the immense difficulties of the enterprise. "A high soul and a trusty spear are only the first essentials," he ventured to say. "Craft must be met with craft, your honour, and cunning with cunning. He is a dragon of great age and vast experience. It is vain to suppose that no knight until now has tackled the ruffian, and as he still flourishes like the green bay tree, we are to fear that he has triumphed on previous occasions, when justice demanded another issue to the conflict. Too well we know in this hard world that might is often allowed to conquer right, doubtless for heavenly purposes by us not understood." Sir Jasper nodded. "It is idle to blink facts," he confessed. "One hears of our knightly triumphs, but the troubadours seldom sing those unhappy failures which tact conceals, though knowledge cannot deny. The dragon, you say, lies hidden upon the path of solitary individuals, and spirits them away." "We have reason to believe that he devours them in situ," answered Jacob Pratt. So far as we can judge, the monster consumes them as we eat a radish, for not a fragment of mortality, not a garment, not a cap, not a tag or shoestring ever remains to tell the tale. Dusk is his happy hunting hour, and such as wander in the gloaming of dawn or night take their lives into their hands. Sometimes a scream is heard in the hurtle of his infernal wings and the scent of lavender, which always accompanies his progress by land and air. Then that lonely soul is gone forever. He has a strange art to choose the widow or the widower, and such as lack for friends or substance. As I have told you, an orphan possesses a horrible fascination for him, and children he cannot resist, even in the noon of day. For many years he was but an evil legend, but of late his activities increase. Within my experience, as portreeve of Pongley, he has snapped Thomas Fagg, the woodman, Nicol Prance, the thatcher, old John Cobley, a swineherd, and Hugh Hobanob, the baker's man. Of females, we have lost Avissa Snell, and her child, devoured together. Mary Fern, a good girl, who lost her man in the wars. Betsy Snow, a widow. Jennifer Mardle, another widow, and only last week, Lillian Lovenot, the belle of the village, and the noblest, worthiest, loveliest maiden that ever gladdened the eyes of her fellow creatures. Her parents are both dead, or I should say her foster parents, for there is a mystery attaching to her birth, and we have never believed that such a homely pair as Peter and Nancy Lovenot could have begotten so distinguished a child as Lillian. But now she too has been snatched away. And as for the children, both boys and girls that he has laid his claws upon, their numbers can hardly be remembered. Thus our cup of grief is full, and you will guess with what gratitude we learn that you will destroy this abomination, or perish in the attempt. Sir Jasper pulled his great moustache, drank another stoop of metheglin, and looked thoughtfully at the fire. "What manner of knight was he of whom you spoke when first we met?" he inquired. "One Sir Rollo Malherbe," replied the portreeve. "But enough," said George Pipkin, who had joined them for a drink. "If that gallant gentleman indeed learned that a formidable dragon was wasting your quarters, it is certain that he put no great tax upon the hospitality of Pongley-In-The-Marsh." "He stayed but 24 hours," admitted Jacob Pratt. "On the morrow of his arrival he set forth, conducted by our valiant young men, and beheld the Lavender dragon roaming at will along the valley of Red Rocks, a favourite haunt nigh the woods of Blore. One glance, at a distance of half a mile, proved enough for Sir Rollo. He remembered him of a fire drake which he had undertaken to slay somewhere in the South Riding, many leagues distant, and saying that he must keep faith, but would return at an early date, spurred his charger, and was never seen again. Your fire drake, or hippogriff, is found but 6 to 10 feet long," mused Sir Jasper, "whereas your right dragon may number 600 feet or more. Our enemy is computed to be perhaps 35 rods from beak to tail," said the portreeve's right-hand man, a little plump fellow with a cane-coloured beard and fat, pock-marked cheeks. He is of a cerulean blue colour, having a rich rosy sheen in direct sunlight, and when he spreads his pinions they are as a flower garden for beauty, being all shades of emerald and azure, purple and gold. In truth, a lovelier beast God never made, yet within this fair and glittering carcass there hides the heart of a crocodile and the brain of a demon. "It would seem that I have my work cut out for me," said Sir Jasper grimly. "Fear nothing, noble knight. All Pongley will be upon its knees at the first moment of onset." From the adjacent chamber came the hum of a hone, where George was putting an edge to his master's battle-axe. He rejoined them presently, and mentioned 1 or 2 occasions whereon he had witnessed successful strife with dragons now defunct. But he was not in a sanguine mood, and presently suggested that Sir Jasper should retire. "What would you wish for breakfast?" inquired the portreeve. "Red meat, wheaten bread, and honey," replied Pipkin, "and plenty of mead. If we can engage the pest before noon, so much the better. If not, then we must eat again before doing so. Ere the sun goes west, a dragon, being largely nocturnal, is somnolent. but as the day advances, he attains to his full energy, and he is at his worst and deadliest about the hour of dusk. Take this for your comfort, said Pratt's right-hand man. He is undoubtedly a very old reptile, and though far from infirm, be under no false hope as to that, cannot fairly be called a dragon in his prime. Youth will be served, as we all know. Thereupon both heroes retired, and despite the tremendous ordeal now before him, Sir Jasper, having said his orisons and committed himself and his fortunes to the Creator, prepared to sleep as soundly as usual. Though few knights but hold a lady in their hearts, to clear their eyes and strengthen their sword arms, yet for my part, I still believe it better to do one's work without such glorious and distracting obligations, he reflected. Some day, no doubt, I shall love and seek to prolong our line, now depending upon me for its continuation. But plenty of time. And if, meanwhile, destiny wills that I fall with my face to a foe who shall overtax my powers, then no heart is broken, save my own. He slept, and the moon sailed over slumbering Pongley, while from the reed fronds round about arose the croak of a myriad frogs, and in the black forest of Blore owls shouted their hollow laughter. End of chapter 1.